Hi everyone, this is Saeed Islam from Cloud Data Analytics channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an end-to-end data analytics project with Microsoft Fabric platform. Quick agenda for today's video. I'll go over Microsoft Fabric introduction briefly. This is not an introductory tutorial. It's more of a hands-on lab project, but I will give some introductory overview of what Microsoft Fabric and what is capable of. Then next we'll go over our end-to-end project. As part of projects, we'll be doing a couple of things. First, we'll create a Lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric. Um, then we'll load some raw data into Lakehouse. We'll perform some data transformation using a Dataflow Gen2 engine, which is one of the most popular, common Microsoft Fabric components. Then at the end, we'll build a Power BI report. It's going to be basic Power BI reports to visualize the data with the final data set we just prepare in Fabric platform. Let's do some quick introduction to Microsoft Fabric. What is Microsoft Fabric exactly? So Microsoft Fabric is a cloud-native unified data analytics platform that lets you build, manage, and analyze data at scale. A lakehouse is a new phenomenon in the recent data industry that basically combines the best of data lakes and traditional data warehouses, allowing you to store and process both structured and unstructured data in one place, which is known as one lake. Fabric has different experiences such as Synapse data warehousing experience, data engineering experience, data factory, data science, real-time analytics, and our most favorite Power BI, of course, Power BI experience. So this is our end-to-end data analytics project architecture. As you can see, we have some data files that will load into our Lakehouse platform. Then we'll perform some data transformation using Dataflow engine. We'll perform things like joining two data sets, filtering data sets, we'll rename some column names, just a common data prep work. So once we have clean data sets, we'll create a Power BI reports out of those data sets. So this is gonna be our, this is the report we'll be building. It's about a global mortality data. It's available as part of Tableau free sample data sets. I'll put the link to our video description. It basically shows different segmentation of global mortality by country, by age group, by gender, by year. I found it pretty interesting data to work with. So hopefully we can build these reports once we have the prep data through Microsoft Fabric platform. Let's start our end-to-end project. So first thing we will be doing is creating a lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric. And to do that, let's log into Fabric portal. So this is our Fabric portal. As you can see, there are different experiences, and we will select Synapse data engineering experience for our project. We'll click on Lakehouse tab and give a meaningful name of Lakehouse. In our case, let's name this something like Global Health Lakehouse. Um, uh, because the data we will be using in this project is part of global health data. Let's click on the create. It takes few seconds to create the lake house. Almost there. Wow. In about 10 seconds, we just created a lake house. That's amazing. So let's go back to a workspace where we just created this new lake house. And as you can see, it created our global health lakehouse. It also created two additional objects underneath the lakehouse. First one is a semantic model, which is a logical layer that defines the relationship, calculations, and hierarchies of the data in the lakehouse. And the second one is a SQL endpoint. SQL Analytics endpoint, which is a service that enables you to run in interactive SQL queries on the data in the Lakehouse. Let's just go back to our Lakehouse again. You can see here two folders, tables and files. The table folder contains tables that you can query using SQL semantic. These tables are stored in the Delta Lake file format, which is an open source format used by Apache Spark within Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse. The files folder contains data files in the OneLake storage for the Lakehouse, but they're not exactly part of the managed Delta tables. So now that we have a new Lakehouse ready, we'll be loading some raw data files into our new Lakehouse that we just created. Before doing that, let's just explore the raw CSV files that we'll be loading for this project. Let me go back to my Windows Explorer. Okay. These are two files, countries and mortality data. These are the two files that we'll be loading and we're working on. Just open the country files, give a brief overview of how they look like. So this is the country files, which is pretty simple file. It has only two columns, country code and country names. And it has about 188 rows. Let's take a look at the other file, the mortality data files, which has about 7 fields, country code, year, field, age groups, gender, number of death rate. It has about 40,000 rows. Yes. So these are the two files we'll be working on. Let's go back to our Microsoft portal. So from the data lake, you go to get data and select the upload files. The dialog box pop up. You just select the folder names and you select both files, countries and mortality data CSV files. And we'll just select the override files if exist and select uploads. It's uploading the files and it's done. It's pretty quick. Let's check out the files. Actually, it's gonna be in the file section. Yeah. So here, let's take a look at it again in the Lakehouse, country code name. And the other file is mortality data, just 7 fields, and it seems like it's loaded perfectly. Okay, so we completed the data loading process. So now that we have raw data available into our Lakehouse, the next step would be to perform some data transformation with Dataflow Gen2 engine in Microsoft Fabric. So what is Dataflow Gen2 exactly? Basically, Dataflow Gen2 is the new generation of Dataflow in Microsoft Fabric. It's the kind of next version of Power Query in Power BI experience that we used to use. Um, it's kind of redesigned with more powerful compute engines and data movement capabilities. Dataflow lets you easily transform and move data between different sources and destination through a very user-friendly interface. Let's go back to the Fabric portal and launch the Dataflow Gen2 engine and start transforming our dataset in our Lakehouse. So from the Get Data menu, select New Data Flow Gen2. It's going to load our Dataflow Gen2 engine. Okay, let's change the Dataflow name to something more meaningful. We'll name it Mortality Data. Dataflow Mortality Data. Hit enter. Now we have to connect with our Lakehouse data source, those files that residing into our Lakehouse. We'll select more. Let's type Lakehouse. Select Lakehouse. Hit next. From the tutorial video workspace, that's where our Lakehouse is. We have Global Health Lakehouse. Let's expand that Lakehouse folder. And let's expand that files folder. Select the countries and mortality data, these two data files. Click create. And this how our data flow is connected to the source files. So now that we have both data sets loaded into our Dataflow Gen2 platforms, let's perform some of the data transformations. As you can see, the column names are showing up as column 1 and column 2. We need to make the first row as a column header to make it look cleaner. And to do that, from the top menu, we'll select the first row as header, which will make your first row as a column header. We'll wait a few seconds for this. Okay, now it looks proper column headers are there, country code, country name. Let's do the same thing for mortality data sets. We'll select use first row as headers. Okay, it's completed. All the column headers now looks perfect. So next thing we'll be doing is we'll join these two data tables into one. And to do that, we'll select merge query as a new one. By default, let's select the countries first and then select the mortality data. and select the joining fields, which is in our case country codes. For join kind, we'll select inner join and hit OK. Let's wait to create our final data tables. Okay. So this is our final table, which combines both data tables, countries, and mortality data. Can probably name these as, let's rename this something more meaningful. Final mortality data. Hit enter. Now, next thing we'll have to do, as you can see, it selected the country code and country name fields, but here we need to expand this table. It added the table mortality data, but we need to select all the fields from that table. As you can see, since we have a country code already exists into the country tables, we will deselect that field, and rest of the fields looks okay. We'll hit OK. It will give us the complete data sets combining two tables. So we did joining, a few other cleaning steps we need to do. We need to clean up the header names, which I mean, we need to remove the space in between all these column headers. To do that, we'll select rename and hit enter. Just remove the rest of the column header names. Country name. Then we have the year looks okay. Age groups needs to remove that space also. And remove that. And number of deaths fields. It's a little slow. Number of deaths. And last one is death rate per 100,000. We'll rename the column header with removing a space, and we'll probably take out this 100,000. Don't need this. Okay, so this is our complete table with all the column headers. And one last thing we'll doing is we'll do some filterings. We would like to see a death rate where it's showing more than 1,000 at least. So to do that, let's go to the filter section. From the menu, we'll select filter rows. Then we'll select is greater than. So basically it's saying keep rows where death rate is greater than 1,000. We'll add 1,000 here and hit OK. We'll filter the data set. So with that, basically most of the data transformation we wanted to do, it's completed. So now one more last thing we need to do here. Actually, we need to do two things before finalizing this transformation data flow with the data flow. We need to set up a destination table for this final mortality data. And to do that, you go to select Add Data Destination from the menu, select Lakehouse, and just select the next, keep everything as default. And you select the workspace and the Lakehouse folders here. Keep the name as default, final mortality data. Hit next. Now it's just showing what data types would look like here, and everything we just keep it as default, and you just hit save settings here. As you can see, it sets up the Lakehouse as our data destinations. So very final thing we'll be doing is publish the workflow, that all the work we've done so far. And as soon as you publish the workflow, Dataflow will start to refreshing the data, which will eventually create our the final mortality data tables into our Lakehouse. So our refresh completed. Let's go check out our data lakes now. We should have some tables available. Okay, our final mortality data tables available as a Delta format. So this is our table that we can use to create our final reports. So now that we have our final table in the Lakehouse available, next and final step of our end-to-end data analytics project would be just to create a basic Power BI reports using this table. So let's log in back to our Fabric portal in the Lakehouse. And from the Lakehouse, we need to go to SQL Analytics endpoint, which you'll just select from upper right side of the Lakehouse portal. Let's select it. And it will take you to the data warehouse experience inside Microsoft Fabrics. This is where we can create our Power BI reports. From the top menu, click on the New Reports button. As you notice, we don't need to have the Power BI desktop app anymore to build our reports. Everything is inside Microsoft Fabric portal. The whole purpose of these unified analytics platforms, just to combine all these different experiences, in our case, a Power BI experience, data engineering, data warehouse experience, everything combined into the one SaaS platforms, which is, I think, really great, convenient features for most developers. Let's just start building the report now. First thing I'll do, I'll be adding a couple of visuals one by one. So let's add a cluster bar chart. Just aligned it. And this is going to show number of deaths by countries. So let's select the number of deaths and the country names. Just make it a little bigger. Let's change the title to something a little more readable. So this is going to be number of deaths by, I would say, countries. Let's take the country name there. Countries. Okay, so this is just showing a number of top 10 or 15 countries that has the most mortality rate. As you can see, India being the top one has over 50 million deaths in a year, then followed by China and Russia. The next chart we'll add something called table visuals. And this should show, we'll select a number of deaths by age group. So let's select the age group and number of deaths. Okay, and then you just sort descending order. You just select this and sort descending. Okay, by default it's sort descending. So let's change format, the title name specifically. Geez, we'll enable the title, and it should be number of death by age groups. Number of death by age groups. Next, we'll add a pie chart, and we'll select number of deaths by gender, male versus female comparison. Let's change the titles. Just be number of deaths by gender. Okay, and let's add a pie chart, line chart that will show year-over-year comparison of death rate. Select number 8, and year would be the x-axis. Okay, so that's pretty much our reports is. Let's edit report titles. We'll name it global mortality report. Let's make it bigger font, 20 or maybe 18 cells. Okay. Okay. And let's make it boldface and underline. Let's make the report more visible by changing the background, which is in the effect. Background would be brown. Okay. Now let's just make it a shadow. Looks prettier. Okay, so this is our we just basically completed our reports. With that, we completed our end-to-end projects, data analytics projects on Microsoft Fabric. Just to wrap up, summarize what we did. Basically, we loaded some CSV files into our Lakehouse within Microsoft Fabric platform. Then we performed some data cleansing. We transformed some data, and with the clean data sets, we were able to create a basic Power BI reports for global mortality rate. So that's our basically completed project. I hope you enjoyed these end-to-end projects, and I'm planning to create more end-to-end projects in the future. Thank you.